Hello and welcome to another edition of the Chartered Career Chat series. I am delighted today to welcome Chris Power. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm the very best, thanks, despite all the madness that's going on. I'm delighted to be with you today, Sinead, so thanks a million for inviting me along.
No problem, no, the pleasure's all ours. And now I'm conscious we know each other. We would have crossed over in training back in the day. But for the benefit of maybe somebody tuning in, would you fill us in maybe on your career story to date?
Absolutely. So my name's Chris Power. I'm a director in Davy Private Clients. So we're Northern Ireland's largest investment and wealth manager. I suppose to take you back many's a year, I actually went into university and studied finance. And I chose finance because it really, well, for two reasons. It gave me the ability to slot in a placement year, which I thought was very beneficial, and gain some industry experience. But the second reason was I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do accountancy, finance, banking. So I wanted that sort of helicopter view of the industry, and finance certainly gave me that. So I studied the finance program, enjoyed the accountancy modules, and then when it came to third year, I applied for my year-long placement with KPMG Corporate Finance in Belfast. So joined the company, worked in the corporate finance division. So that was primarily mergers, acquisitions, debt, equity fundraising, and then the public sector advisory team when I obviously crossed paths with your good self. And then what happened was I finished that year, went back, completed the degree, and graduated with first class honours. And in the background, I'd reapplied to KPMG. It felt like the obvious step and was delighted to do so. So I went back into KPMG, spent 3 years there on the training contract, and gained my qualifications on the way through. Came in Cap 1, as I like to call it, accountancy for dummies level, which suited me perfectly at that stage. Did Cap 1, Cap 2, FAE, and then qualified in 2013, at which point I sadly exited KPMG and was approached by Davy at that point. So when I joined there was only 7 staff, not exactly a household name. It's grown now to have 75 staff in Belfast. There's over 700 of us throughout Ireland. And since that time, we've grown our asset base almost tenfold. We manage just shy of 2 billion of client assets in Northern Ireland, of which I look after 125 million. So, you know, when I joined as assistant manager, and I've sort of risen through the ranks, and a lot of that sort of success has to be put down to the Chartered Accountancy qualification.
Amazing, a brilliant story. I'd be interested, Chris, to even jump even further back. You obviously went down the finance degree route. What did you study at school, and did you always know that, I mean, you wanted to go down business finance, that obviously led into accounting, or did you know when you were at school?
It's a good question. I don't think anyone really knows or grows up wanting to be an accountant. You know, I wanted to be a professional footballer, but didn't really have the physique. Was always said I was too small for that. So that was quickly ruled out. I then wanted to be a sports editor for a newspaper. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. And then I think it's at A-level stage when students really get an understanding of what it is they want to pursue. And you should choose studies based on 2 things, or subjects based on 2 things, I believe. One, what you're good at. So your strengths, because that'll obviously work well, but also what you enjoy. So I chose maths, business studies, and psychology. So a bit of a weird mix. I also did IT at AS, but you know, it was one of those ones where the maths and business studies were the drivers behind it, and that's what sort of led me down the path of finance. You know, I always wanted to be an investment banker, whatever that is, over in London. My wife quickly nipped that in the bud and said, "You're not going anywhere." So I stayed put in the bright lights of Belfast, and here I am today.
Brilliant. Maybe honing in on your job now, and even, you know, the previous role that you held with KPMG. Can you give a sense of what working life is like as a chartered accountant or trainee chartered accountant? There's maybe a misconception that it's very one-dimensional, or it is just pure numbers and crunching or bean counting. But if you give us a bit of an insight, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I was surprised because when I took the placement with KPMG, you were automatically branded an accountant by your friends and family, and I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing when you're very young. But look, the working day, it's true, no 2 days are the same. You're not there with your head in the books, just as you say, counting beans and not engaging with anybody. In fact, what I found with the accountancy sort of work with KPMG, but also transitioning through to Davy, a big part of it's engaging with people, whether that's directors and businesses, shareholders, and it's no doubt about it that a big thing you need to have in your locker is your ability to engage with others and get along with others. But the working day was varied in KPMG. As you know, in accountancy, there's three main strands: the audit, then the tax, and the advisory. And obviously, we were both in the advisory section, but even that is split out into multi-facets. There's restructuring, there's consultancy, public sector advisory, corporate finance. So no 2 days are the same. It's not like you're boxed in, you're hemmed in, you're stuck with the one client or the one job. And that's carried through into my work with Davy. A lot of people or students don't understand what a wealth manager or investment manager does, and I suppose it's worthwhile just touching on it briefly. What we try and do is marry up two things. It's the investment management. So clients give us funds to manage. We look after those, try and invest them in line with their objectives and risk profile. But that's overlaid by a very important financial plan where we look at the client's objectives. We look at, all the factors, the soft factors, the hard factors, their income, expenditures, assets, liabilities. And that brings in the accountancy, piece. And it's all about blending those together. And then when you marry up the investment management and the financial planning, there's a whole taxation piece running through that, which I wouldn't have had the benefit of, but for the accountancy qualification.
Brilliant. So very much the case that you're not just restricted to traditional, accounting or bookkeeping activity, given where, you are now and the variation of your own role. Would you agree with maybe the statement that it's a business leadership qualification?
Absolutely. It's something that I think about a lot. It's got me to where I have got very quickly in my career, and it's largely due to the qualification. It makes your CV stand out from the crowd. There's no doubt about it. But I think there's the stat that 1 in 5 CEOs in the FTSE 100 are a chartered accountant, and over 50% of them are finance or accountancy professionals. So that just goes to show you what a sort of qualification it is. It's no doubt it's difficult. It's very difficult juggling the working hours, which can be long at times, as you well know, with the study, whether it's in the evening study, the weekend study, but it's absolutely worth it. Not only do a lot of the firms help you with the costs of the exams, which aren't inexpensive, it's one of those things that when you have the qualification and you say you're a chartered accountant, people automatically stand up and take notice. There's no doubt about it.
You've maybe already started to touch on it, Chris, but would you say it has had an impact on your own career progression? Like, you're obviously very young, you're a director in Davy. Has the qualification helped you get to where you are now?
Yeah, what I think, Sinead, is, it's definitely made me more employable from the outset. I touched on it. I think it's when we look to bring in the best candidates, we're looking for those with chartered accountancy qualification. There's nothing quite like a professional qualification because it's something that you choose to do rather than have to do, which might be like your A levels or university. And what it has shown my employer is that I have that strong work ethic and analytical mind. And it's definitely meant more responsibility for me from an early stage in my career. And that's probably because your employer knows you're capable and trusts you with the work. And like I said, I tend to use that taxation knowledge that I have on a daily basis, to help ensure clients' investments are structured in the most tax efficient way possible. And it's definitely given me the confidence to go on and study other professional exams. So when I got my chartered accountancy, it propelled me on. And with Davy, I studied from a chartered wealth manager qualification. I would say it's nowhere near as difficult as the Chartered Accountancy qualification. That was blood, sweat, and tears, but absolutely worth it. And one thing I do find is being a chartered accountant definitely sets me apart from my peers in that I find it easier drawing in new clients and winning new business, because I think clients really value, what a chartered accountant's all about.
Fantastic. Thinking of qualities, maybe, or traits or skills, if you like, is there a couple, 2 or 3 that come to mind that you think, yeah, that's what you need to possess if you are pursuing a chartered accountancy career?
Yeah, it's one, and I mentor a few of the guys in the company I'm in, and I think the skill set or the key skills you need as a chartered accountant overlay in the other sectors and careers. So I wouldn't say these are explicitly for chartered accountancy, but it definitely helps. And the first thing I always say, and I've presented on it a couple of times, is hard work and dedication will trump all other things. A lot of people say there's luck, but I believe you make your own luck. Opportunities just don't land in your lap. It's about going out there, putting your head above the parapet. So having that hard work and determination, will absolutely propel you on to where you want to be. And the other thing, which I think is very relevant in this day and age, and especially with lockdown, I know mental well-being has been something that's been looked at, focused on, and rightly so. I think mental resilience is a big one, because you need to have that strength of mind where the hours are long, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and it's trying to juggle multiple things, and you need to have that mental resilience to deal with difficult clients, difficult customers, and difficult colleagues, because you can come across them, and having the mental resilience to switch on, switch off, keep your home and work life, and it's all very important, because at the moment, and I know we chatted about it briefly, it's difficult when the two marry together and you've got your home life encroaching on your work life, but mental resilience is a key one. There's other ones out there that you could say, like, a technical flair or a flair for numbers, but I think they're pretty obvious to be an accountant, and you don't necessarily need to have them. But the third one, so the hard work, mental resilience. But the third one I would say, and it's maybe not the most obvious one, would be emotional intelligence. So, you come across this a lot, and it's really your ability to adapt to situations and adapt to people. Know when to stop speaking, know when to give a bit more, know when to dip in, dip out, and have an emotional intelligence when you come to manage people, when you come to be managed. It's worth it in spades. And we're trying to devote a lot of time in Davy to bring in the next level through the organization, and it's all about trying to develop not just their technical skills but their emotional intelligence as well.
It's interesting that you touch on that. I completely agree. And some people do think maybe the traditional chartered accountant is maybe an introvert that sits in the corner, isn't maybe socially engaged, and I find that to be the complete opposite. And I know your own personality sort, and we'd be on the same wavelength on that. So it's great to hear you touch on that. Communication skills are invaluable, and building networks, and maybe you'll agree with that.
Absolutely. Like, you are your own PR brand. You've got to get out there at an early stage. It's about who you know. When it comes to doing DIY work around your house, knowing the electricians, knowing the joiners, it's the same when it comes to work. If you want to move jobs, if you want to progress in your career, you've got to get on well with others, but you've got to network. You've got to put yourself out there, and not be afraid to approach people. There's nothing worse, and I know we all know this, getting a message through LinkedIn from somebody you've never heard of in a completely different sector with absolutely no alignment. But if you spend the time to find the right individuals, I'm more than happy if someone in studying accountancy or finance or someone with an interest gets in touch with me, I take the time out to go back to them. And I think it's very worthwhile.
I could talk to you all day, Chris. I know you and me are both there chatterboxes, but maybe in summing up, thinking about somebody considering a career path in chartered accountancy, would you recommend it? What would you say to them?
Yeah, look, what I would say, Sinead, I know we're both biased, but being a chartered accountant, you can earn a lot of money. Money's not everything, but you've got the potential for that professional growth. If you've got an entrepreneurial streak, chartered accountancy will offer you the perfect foundation to perhaps start your own business. and also the potential to work anywhere in the world. Maybe not in the current pandemic, but you can certainly feel free to move around. And just to wrap up, as you said, it's been great being here talking to you today, Sinead. For the guys listening, your career options are endless at this stage of your lives. And what I would say is this isn't a dress rehearsal. The career boat moves really fast, so do make sure you're on board from day dot. And like I said, hard work, put the work in, you'll get the results. And choose your degree, your career path, or your professional qualification route based on your strengths and what you enjoy doing. And seriously consider chartered accountancy as a qualification, as a profession, because you certainly won't regret it, and I certainly haven't.
Chris, fantastic. Thank you so much. And I really do appreciate your time. I know you're a busy bee with work, and you've welcomed the third arrival, the little lady, in lockdown. So you're balancing an awful lot. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
No problem, Sinead. Thanks a million. Have a good day.
Thanks a million. Take care.